Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the 5th Karnataka Butterfly and Bee Festival 2021. And welcome once again to the Expert Talks. Today's talk is the fourth and last talk in the series of expert talks organized as part of the festival. We had well-attended talks in the past 3 days as well. On the 6th, we had a talk by Ashok Sen Gupta about his encounters with the jewels of nature. And on the 7th by HANEESH KM on the butterflies of Karnataka, and on the 8th by Nitin Ravikantachari on the butterfly biology for citizen scientists. The recordings of these sessions will be available on Walk with Butterflies Facebook page and on the YouTube channel of the Bengaluru Butterfly Club. Do visit them in case you have missed the sessions or if you want to watch them again. Today's session is on setting up a butterfly habitat or a butterfly garden. If you have questions on what is a butterfly habitat, how to have or create one, where it can be done, whether it can be done at home or in an apartment garden or office garden or school, why you would need to have one, and what are its benefits, when do I go about making one, and what will I need for that, and many more such questions. If you have them, you're at the right place this evening. For today, we have a panel of experts who are here to answer all your questions and discuss about the setting up of a butterfly habitat. I have the privilege today to introduce to you the panel moderator of the session, Dr. Krushnamegh Kunte, and it gives me great pleasure in introducing him. Dr. Krushnamegh Kunte is Associate Professor at the National Center for Biological Sciences, Bengaluru, leading a lab group on the diversity, biology, and genetics of Indian butterflies. He spearheads the Biodiversity Atlas, Indian Citizen Science Collaborative, and functions as the chief editor of the Butterflies of India, also known as the I Found Butterflies, one of the longest running modern citizen science platforms in the country. He has authored 5 books on Indian butterflies and published over 80 research papers describing new species and other aspects of biodiversity. He is Earthwatch Institute's Conservation of Species Fellow for 2020 to 2021. Dr. Kunte has been a wonderful guide and mentor to many who have benefited from his knowledge, guidance, and encouragement. Before I hand it over to Dr. Kunte, I would request all of you to please keep yourself muted while the discussions are going on. Keep your videos off to help better streaming, and do post your questions in the chat box so that they can be answered by the members of the panel. So over to you, Dr. Kunte.
Thank you, Priya, for this introduction, and thank you for all the introductions. Actually, she has been managing this for the last 4 days, for the last 3 days, and she has been a wonderful, she has taken this wonderful responsibility. Today is our last session, as she mentioned, and I'm particularly happy about this session because it's going to be much more interactive compared to the last 3, where we mostly had expert talks. They delivered their materials, and of course we had question and answer at the end. But here we have 2 main presentations followed by Q&A, and a substantial part of the program today is going to be question and answers. So among the 2 experts who are going to speak from their experience of running butterfly parks, I have the pleasure to introduce Mr. K. Harish. He is the Deputy Director of BANNERGHATTA Biological Park, which houses the butterfly park in the larger campus. And of course, it has the zoo and the safari, as well as the actual national park, which starts from there. It's a wonderful place. If you have not been there, if you ever visit Bangalore, please do go to BANNERGHATTA Biological Park. It's one of the best managed zoos and parks that I've seen. And it's also wonderful mainly because of the butterfly park that we have there. It was the first of its kind in India. Before that, there was one butterfly park in Kolkata, a few smaller ones elsewhere. But this was one of the first centrally organized, beautifully done butterfly park in the nation. And it continues to be one of the best butterfly parks in the country. And all the information which is given here, all the species which are presented there is truly wonderful. And I'm happy to welcome Mr. Harish to today's panel because he comes with a lot of experience in the Forest Department. In fact, he has more than 23 years of service in the Forest Department. And he has been posted in multiple places, Hassan, Mandya, Tumkuru, and he has dealt with a lot of issues dealing with forests and people over this long service. And today he will be bringing us all his experience in running the butterfly park as well, where he has been managing things in the position of deputy director for the last more than 4 months. The second panelist we have is Mr. SAMMILAN Shetty. He is, of course, very well known for his butterfly park at BELVAI, which he started exactly 10 years ago, 11 years ago, actually. In 2011, I think visited him in 2012 or 13, perhaps, pretty early on after he established his
2012.
butterfly park, 2012. And trees were just beginning to grow, butterflies were just beginning to come there. Now, in the last few years, I know it's one of the best places to see rare butterflies, highly specialized butterflies like Malabar banded peacock. And many of the forest species now come to his butterfly park to feed as well as to breed. It's again one of the best places to see butterflies, to photograph butterflies, but not only adult butterflies, also their larval stages, pupal stages, which he studies himself, and other people also go and observe them there. So it's truly remarkable that one individual, one family really, I in fact met his mother as well at that time, and she has been a big supporter of all the things that SAMMILAN has done there. And as a result, that family has achieved a truly remarkable feat of running such a successful butterfly park with these few pillars of that butterfly park. And it's truly remarkable what it has transformed into in this short period. And everybody who is interested in butterflies and also interested in running a butterfly park, whether it's in your small apartment gallery or whether it's in a larger place, perhaps even a neighborhood park, you should absolutely go visit SAMMILAN's park and learn from it, take some inspiration from it. And with all of that, SAMMILAN has also turned into one of the best experts in talking to people about establishing butterfly parks. He has a lot of accolades as well. He has been chosen as one of the biggest ambassadors of butterfly conservation as part of what he has developed in BELVAI, and his habitat has also become a lot more attractive to butterflies, with a lot of native vegetation growing, a lot of larvalose plants growing on his property. And he has done a wonderful film, nearly a 1 hour long film on butterflies, which is also quite interesting. It has achieved a lot of fame because of that. And this was just two years ago, 2019, and it has received a lot of praise.
19 it was.
19, right? So that documentary is there for you to see if you have more interest in running a butterfly park or generally learning about butterflies. And it was completely done in the butterfly park itself. And you will see there are lots of forest species, a lot of Western Ghats endemics, which are in this documentary. And it's wonderful that it's all part of his butterfly park. He has also received a lot of awards. He was featured in Amazing Indians from in Times Now, and he also received World Book of Records London 2018 award. And he was also awarded Popular Choice Award in 2020 by Deccan Herald. And in fact, last year, if I remember correctly, in Karnataka Butterfly Festival, he was felicitated. And I think also in 2019, you gave a talk, right? So he has been involved in these butterfly festivals as well. And this year we are going to hear even more from him. So these are the two panelists who will give talks first. We'll start with Mr. Harish, then SAMMILAN Shetty. We'll hear from them for about 15 minutes. We'll hear about their experience first, and then we'll move to question and answers. And I'm pretty sure their talks will also give you a lot of material to think about, and your questions can also be based on that. But if you have any questions really on butterfly breeding, attracting butterflies to your parks, perhaps even photographing butterflies by attracting them to these larvalose plants and nectar plants, we can take those questions later. So with that introduction, I would like to request Mr. Harish to speak about his experience with the biological butterfly park, BANNERGHATTA Biological Park. And later on, before Q&A, I will also introduce Mr. HANEESH, who is going to be one of the panelists who will field questions in the Q&A session. Mr. S. KARTHIKEYAN, who has been involved in Butterfly Festival, and PARESH CHURI, if he has time to join. But I'll do those introductions just before Q&A. All right, Mr. Harish, we'll hand this over to you now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, KK sir. And good evening, hearty, warm good evening to all the participants. As rightly said, it's our BANNERGHATTA Biological Park. We have the India's first butterfly park, which is established and inaugurated on 25th November 2006. It's spread over an area of across 7.5 acres of land with thick vegetation, shrubs and trees. It's conceptualized in an integrated center that supports conservation, education, and research activities with exclusive focus on butterflies as a flagship family of invertebrate conservation. The butterfly park has the following major components. We have a butterfly garden to sustain a local butterfly population, a conservatory, it's an enclosed under a polycarbonate roof, a museum with audiovisual dome, a research and captive breeding laboratory, a nursery, and a host plant and nectar plants garden with an area spread over 10 acres. And these are the main major components we have with our butterfly park. It's a butterfly conservatory is a closed landscape garden under polycarbonate roof. The huge dome-shaped structure. The main we have the butterfly emerge at the pupa chamber are released into the closed dome provided with larval host plant, adult food plants and food source, and especially fruits for some butterflies of Nymphidae. We have in the dome itself or the conservatory dome, we have mud puddling spot and other necessary requirements like waterfall and sprinklers for temperature maintenance, air blowers for air circulation, thermometers to monitor temperature. And this our butterfly park, we have one on the top of the roof is adjusted with a small motor and a pipe connection for the flow of water all over the roof during the summer season. And also we have air blowers to control temperature. Next. Species based on the season of the species. In our butterfly park, now we are breeding some 12 species, and we have some 14 host plants in our host plant garden. Earlier, we Oleander hawk moth is one we have breeded, and we have found recently one Atlas moth also. Now we are on that for breeding that moth also. As you know, with butterflies, so many people they have not seen moth because moth are they're active during night. So we have the facility of keeping them in the butterfly park also, so that the visitors can have a glimpse of that moth also. Now we are rearing a dome, or we are breeding so common mermans and blue mermans, common rose, crimson rose, common pioneer, common grass yellow, common gull, red parrot, blue tiger, common crow, common castor, and common bush brown also. Okay. Then, yeah. We have as a host plants, we have a host plant garden spread over 10 acres. 10 acres. We have some the main host plants which supports the local and native butterflies are curry leaf, then citrus species, this Polyalthea, Michaelia champaka, and eagle marmelos, Cassia siamia, and this Cassia fistula, Pangamia pinnata, and Butea monosperma, and this calotropis, and we have mango, and we have some palm trees, and with in addition to that we have caparis, and the Aristolochia, and some it is cinnamomum. These are the main host plants we have in our host plant garden, and still we are improving the host plant garden. And in addition to the host plant garden, we have some 5 to 6 acres of that open nectar yielding plants area outside the dome also. There we are growing all nectar yielding plants, like some hybrid lantana, which prefer that they will not seed, so then they will not become the menace for that. So we are rearing this hybrid, we are growing hybrid lantana, the pentanus, Stachycarpeta, then Cupia, and Asclepias. And this type of, and with that we are growing Pangamia pinnata also in that area. Whenever people see, when the plants even they are not flowering, even then if anybody sees butterflies flying around those plants or trees, you can think that they are trying to lay eggs. So even some people may think that there is no flower, or there is nothing, no nectar to collect. Even then butterflies are flying. Then they can see that by that they can see that there will be possibilities of getting eggs. For our butterfly park, we are collecting eggs and this pupa, even not from the wild. They are from our host plant garden and the area beside our dome only. That's all. Then I will brief whenever the questions will show. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Harish, for this quick introduction to BANNERGHATTA Biological Park. And as I mentioned, if anybody is in Bengaluru next time, or if you live here, absolutely go there. In any season, it's one of the best places to enjoy butterflies. And this was not mentioned earlier, maybe I'll mention this now. The late Dr. Chandrasekhara, who was a professor here in University of Agricultural Sciences on our campus, he was one of the persons involved in establishing the butterfly park. And he was also there to supervise all the work that went into making informational science. And that is in fact one of the strengths of the Bannerghatta Biological Park. As I mentioned, there were a few other efforts to create butterfly parks at some level, but what made Bannerghatta really special, this particular butterfly park really special, is all the information that was put on these signs. And this was indeed one of the best maintained, best curated information there was on butterflies, but also some other insects, including moths. So that information, those signs, and of course, all the butterflies that you see there is what makes this park truly special and a truly educational experience as well. It's not just a wow factor, which is good. You should be wowed when you see butterflies there, but it's also a great educational resource and a educational place because of all this information that is available there. And if you have time, also make some special time to talk to the staff there. They have really wonderful staff, very experienced staff who have been breeding butterflies and maintaining plants there for many years. And I had the privilege of talking to some of them and learning from them how to breed butterflies. So if you are particularly serious, then also please request Mr. Harish or whoever else is there at that time in the butterfly park to talk to the staff, because there's a lot to learn from their experience as well. Anyway, so with that, we'll go to the next speaker, Mr. SAMMILAN Shetty, and he has a lot more to add to what has been said about the butterfly parks, because he does it in the open area. He doesn't have a dome. He doesn't have an enclosed place similar to what you will see in Bannerghatta Butterfly Park. But because it's an open area and still attracts so many butterflies, we will learn from him how he has managed to do that. It's truly remarkable that you could attract so many species and individuals and so many rare species, which people don't get to see even in forests, but he has been able to attract them to his place. And if he can do it, you can also do it and potentially attract as many species if you live in the right place and have the right setup. So we are all curious to learn from you, SAMMILAN, how you did it, and also get inspired by what you have done. So please carry on.
Good evening, all of you. It's a great privilege to be here in this panel discussion with the experts. And thank you so much, Dr. Krushnamegh, for introducing me to the members here. So I'll be talking about the butterfly park, my journey about butterflies in brief. It was first I got inspired about this. I got amazed about butterflies during my college days when I was allotted a project on study of local butterflies. And in 2011, it was I started this conservation work by putting nectar plants initially, and then also putting some common host plants, which is already found in many of the households, like lime or curry leaf, where we normally plant it. So there are some very common butterflies which get attracted to these lime plants or curry leaf plant or even mango trees. We had also the secondary forest in the land that was engulfed with the Hopia ponga trees. The total land was what was dedicated for butterflies was 7.35 acres, out of which there is about 4 acres of secondary forest. So the host plants were naturally found in the secondary forest. We had to put nectar plants in the open areas which were paddy fields earlier. We started with many nectar plants, including Stachyter peta or lantana, the one which is not the wild, in fact, the hybrid lantana, which doesn't produce seeds. We also put other nectar plants like Clerodendron paniculatum. In Kannada, we call it as Ratha Pushpa. And we put, there are other nectar plants which are naturally found also, which we can discuss in detail if somebody asks about it. So for the butterflies to sustain in an area, they naturally are found everywhere. But to get that concentration, you'll have to focus on one thing is the host plants, where the butterflies breed and the caterpillars have to specifically feed on the host. And during adults, most of them, of course, they come on nectar plants. Apart from nectar plants, they come on other foodstuffs as well. They come on bird droppings, maybe mammalian droppings, human sweat, wet soil patches, dead organisms. So there's a variety in the food the adults can feed upon. So what we did is we initially focused on a lot of nectar plants, where host plants were naturally found in this habitat where we used to stay there. So 2013, it was officially inaugurated to the public, and we have been conducting awareness programs right from the layman to the students or project students who come with us, interns who work with us. So we have been able to inspire many of them, in fact, to conserve the native flora in their location, because conservation of native flora is a very much important factor, because they naturally exist, and butterflies are so much, the local butterfly species are so much dependent on the native flora. They have to strictly feed on the native plants. So when you conserve the native flora, you see the butterfly population sustaining naturally. So what we do at the Butterfly Park is we first register them once they come here, or they can also do the registration through phone call. We first brief them about the Butterfly Park after that, and we also tell about the importance of butterflies, explain how butterflies have been declining and what we can do in order to conserve them. So these are a few points which are highlighted in the briefing, and then they are taken for a guided field tour where they'll be introduced to the native flora, the native host plants. They'll be shown the early stages of the butterflies, the different stages, maybe the egg, the caterpillar, the pupal stage. They'll get to learn about the butterfly behavior. They get to learn about courtship ritual. They get to learn about the egg-laying behavior of the female. They get to learn about the nectaring feeding behavior of the butterflies. So we try our best to make them understand how butterflies exist, and how butterflies behave, and what can keep butterflies for long. So this is a half-an-hour guided tour which might continue for about 45 minutes. And then we take them back in the presentation room, where we show them the videos what are exclusively taken from the Butterfly Park, make them understand the egg laying or the caterpillar coming out of it, or caterpillar feeding on the eggshell, feeding on the post, then searching hideout for predation, and the eclosion process. All this is explained through video presentation, because we're not able to show all the different behavior in the field in one walk. So what collection of videos we have actually taken from the butterfly, we show them and explain, we interact with them. So the total program will be for about 1 hour 15 minutes, 1.5 hours, where where the visitors get to learn the basics of butterflies. So our goal is to inspire people to conserve the native flora which they have in their location, because the butterfly conservation is not a one-man's job, or if somebody dedicates some amount of land for the butterflies, it wouldn't be enough, and it wouldn't help in conserving butterflies. In fact, all of them get involved and conserve the native flora what already exists in their locations, then only it's possible to conserve butterflies everywhere. So this is the main idea, main objective of the Butterfly Park here, and we've been functioning since 2011, as Dr. Krushnamegh mentioned. I would love to interact with the participants here, rather than talking much about the Butterfly Park. So we'll have a great time and hope to see some fruitful interactions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sammilan. I was actually hoping that you would show us some pictures as well of your butterfly park, and perhaps a short clip. That would have been nice. So next time we organize your program, definitely
Sure.
do treat us with some of the pictures of not only the habitat you have created, perhaps also some of the butterflies, some of the specialties who come to your butterfly park. We'll definitely like to see that next time. And of course, we will talk more about actual gardening plants, which people might be able to plant to attract specific butterflies and so on and so forth. But I'm also glad that you are wonderfully on time. It's only 7:34, so we'll have plenty of time for question and answers. So for the panel which will answer questions, I will actually introduce them in some order of experience and expertise, even if these may not be some of the people who might answer some of the questions. I'll start with Mr. S. Karthikeyan. And the reason why I want to start with him is that he is the most senior butterfly watcher and a naturalist, a superb naturalist, from whom all of us have learned something about butterflies, something about birds, something about one thing or another. He's a very well-rounded naturalist who knows a lot about a whole lot of things. And there's a formal introduction which has been sent to me, but I will read that a little bit later, because really I know Karthik as one of these, as you can see from his white beard and his reluctance to speak. He's an old wise naturalist who's really experienced. He has visited almost all of India, and he's an excellent photographer, and he's an inspiration to naturalists everywhere. And for a long time, he has served as an educator and as a conservationist. And that's another thing we all like about him. So formally, he is the chief naturalist at Jungle Lodges and Resorts, and he manages all the natural history related activities at all the Jungle Lodges properties. And he's also involved in other programs like butterfly festivals for all this time. He also edits a website, which again, JLR Explore. If you haven't seen it yet, please do go and have a look at it. It has a lot of beautiful articles and a lot of great pictures about wildlife of Karnataka. So please do have a look at that as well. So that's KARTHIKEYAN. And then we have Mr. HANEESH KM. He's a teacher in Christ College. Let me just quickly go to him. He was actually introduced 2 days ago when he spoke about butterflies of Karnataka. But I will introduce him one more time. And again, like Karthik, there's a formal introduction which has been given to me. Most recently, most of the students will know him as a teacher there. But the more informal introduction that I would like to give to Mr. HANEESH, I will just call him HANEESH as I normally do. And please feel free to call me Krushnamegh.
Yeah.
Is that HANEESH is again an excellent, even a superlative naturalist. He is definitely one of the best butterfly watchers that I've seen. And one of the reasons why I really like his work and his experience is that he not only knows adult butterflies really well, but he knows their early stages, eggs, caterpillars, pupae, larvalose plants that they feed on really intimately. He is, again, somebody I would turn to if I have questions about early stages of butterflies. He has discovered early stages of a lot of species and moths. Recently, he has done a lot of moths as well. So if you want to know more about caterpillars, if you don't have a caterpillar, if you have a caterpillar that you can't identify, HANEESH is definitely a person you should go to. And there are very few people like him in India who know about early stages of butterflies just as well as adults of butterflies. So I'm very pleased to have him on this panel. And then, of course, Mr. Harish and SAMMILAN will also answer questions. Is PARESH there? Has he managed?
Yeah. So PARESH was. Yeah, PARESH is.
Yes, PARESH is there. Yes. PARESH, if you don't have your video started, perhaps just say hello once. PARESH is another person, another rare person who is not only a great naturalist, but particularly what I like about him is that he's also a great artist. He started making butterfly art and entomological art, botanical art a few years ago. And one of the frames that he gifted to my lab hangs in the lab. This is of, Kaisari Hind and other butterflies. And it's really a wonderful thing. And he might explain at another program how he does it. But he basically does it from paper. And those butterflies are so beautiful that somebody once started questioning him, why are you pinning butterflies like this and offering them? They were so lifelike that it was hard for people to even believe that they were not real butterflies. So he's a great artist. He has also received awards for this art. But today we have him on board mainly because of his expertise on creating gardens. He, in fact, works as a professional in helping people create gardens, construct gardens, advise them on larvalose plants. And for me, particularly for many years, at least for the last 10 years, I've been turning to Paresh to again ask for Lavalose plants, ask about caterpillars. And in fact, if there is any plants on the Butterflies of India website, he is the one who edits those observations. And sometime during Q&A, I will show you how to find records of Lavalose plants and nectar plants on the Butterflies of India website. But while introducing Paresh, I'll mention that most of the data which are curated on the Butterflies of India website on plants was done by Paresh. So we thank him for that, because that's a much longer term resource which all will be able to enjoy. And is Nitin also there today? I think he said he was going to be there, but no, he's not there. Yeah, Nitin, you will see him tomorrow. If you're in Bangalore, if you're going to be at the function tomorrow, he will be on the nature trail, and he may be able to tell you some about plants, because he compiled the checklist of plants of butterflies of the Western Ghats. So that information is also on the website. Anyway, so this is our panel. I'm very happy to have all these people, and we'll start with questions. As mentioned earlier by Priya, all your questions are being entered in the chat box, so I will pick them up from here. But you can also put them up on Facebook, and these will be communicated to me, and I will choose questions from what you ask, and we will then take them up one by one. All right. So I'll start with the chat box. The first question we have from Ashwini is it possible not to have butterfly in local patch in city due to pollution? So I'll turn that into a question, and any of us can pick it up, which is, cities we know are famously polluted and also very crowded. There's too much vehicular traffic. So in these conditions, is it still possible to attract butterflies to your local garden, whether it's a city park or whether it's a gallery in your apartment? Yeah. So would Hanish like to take a lead on answering this first?
Yeah, so the good evening. So thank you for the big introduction. So now coming to the question. So in Bangalore city, we are observing the butterflies for the last few years, and the Bengaluru Butterfly Club along with the NCBS is doing systematic documentation of the butterflies. Okay, so the number, number of species which we recorded in Bangalore is coming around 178, I think. So that's a final number. So that says it. So because even in a much crowded city, so the a polluted city, we can see around the 170 plus butterflies, species of butterflies. Okay, so butterflies are they can be seen in any place. Okay, so even in the crowded cities, you can see, because their life is more connected into the plants, mainly into the host plants and nectar plants. So wherever some vegetation is there, you can definitely find some insects, okay, and especially butterflies, you can see them. Okay. And coming to the second part of it, so whether the pollution is affecting the butterflies, yes. If it is too polluted, the host plants or nectar plants may not be easily approachable for the butterflies, and their habitat is not much suitable for the butterflies to grow in big numbers. So pollution will definitely affect the number of butterflies in the negative sense. Okay, but still you can expect some of them, and so if you make some conservation effects, you can increase the number of butterflies there. So yeah, I think I have.
Would anybody else like to add to that?
Yes, Krushnamegh, shall I?
Yes, Paresh, go ahead.
Recently, we have developed one pollinator stop in Mumbai. Actually, we were, asked by one of the NGOs in Mumbai, and they approached us and they said, if you can develop something into the given patch. Actually, BMC is having some small traffic island near the Shivaji Park area, and it is quite busy. It is near the busy roads actually. and there were 2 more bus stops nearby, and traffic is very much regularly there exists. So we planned one butterfly garden over there, and we planted around 30 different host and nectar plants. And after 2 months, we started getting good results. In fact, despite the noisy location, even if we plant certain nectar plants which are very much preferable by local butterflies, so we have to plan accordingly. Like the area was quite sunny area, so certain plants which loves some plants are shade loving plant, whereas some plants are sun loving. So you have to plan accordingly. So the planning is also essential while developing certain butterfly gardens. So we planted, and the area was quite less as compared to other areas. It was
So how
just
small
around,
was it?
so
How
it
small
is
was the
100
area?
it is
100 square
100
feet.
square.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and despite that, now around more than 50 species are visiting on that
Wow.
particular.
Wow.
Not important, like you should have a big area. Even the smaller area also, you can plant certain shrubs, herbs, or certain trees which can attract butterflies. You should be able to understand local butterflies first and what they choose, and accordingly you can plant a certain nectar plant as well as host plants. So
Good.
this is an important case study I can share with all.
Great. So actually, your the long answer that you gave actually answers some of the other questions that people have asked and will ask. I'm pretty sure. So that was useful. But to summarize your answer for this specific question, I will then say that yes, you can attract butterflies even in highly polluted areas, highly crowded
Yes.
areas. And Paresh, of course, shared this experience from Mumbai, which is even more crazy than Bangalore. But even in Bengaluru, you can attract a lot of butterflies. And in fact, you do see a lot of species even inside the city. Dorisani Palya Forest Research Campus, for example, is right in the middle of the city. And that forest patch, which is not that big, but it's still one beautiful green patch, even that has more than 125 species of butterflies recorded, which is pretty impressive. And if you go to any small park in Bengaluru is often called city of parks and wetlands, right? Lakes and parks. So you do see butterflies all over. And if you go to any city in Karnataka or in India, really, you will see substantial number of butterflies. So butterflies and other insects do have a way of finding the right habitat, the right plant on which they can breed. So pollution, of course, we should try to reduce as much as we can, but that doesn't completely take out butterflies. And if we create kinds of small patches, which Paresh mentioned, around traffic circles in small parks, in between roads and so on and so forth, we can still attract a lot of butterflies. All right, so that's our first question. The second question, which is put in the chat box as well as in the other list of questions that I have, is where can we get a list of plants which will attract butterflies? And the second part of that question is where can we get these plants? So knowing which plants we should have and getting them are two different things. So I will start with the first part of this question, which is where will you, what are the plants that we should get? And what I'll mention is that I'm sharing the screen now. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, good. So if you want to know which plants you should we should plant in whatever small or large park that you have, you can go to the Butterflies of India website. That's ifoundbutterflies.org. And under butterfly biology, Lavalos plants of Indian butterflies takes you to this page. I will also put this link in the chat box so that you can copy it from there. Go visit this website. But on this page, you will see species wise list. This is brown awl. So all the plant species on which brown awl feeds are given here. And this is done for all the South Indian butterflies for which Lavalos plants are known. If you find anything which is not in this list, please send me an email and I will be happy to add it here. We are keeping this regularly updated. So we would like to have all the records of larvalose plants on this. And this is, if you want to know what the plant looks like, for example, you can go to Common Mormon. If you click on the Common Mormon page here, it will take you to the species page. And here under larvalose plants, you can see the same checklist of plants on which caterpillars of Common Mormon feed. But then the additional feature here is that you can also see what those plants look like. So this is Eagle Marmelos. It's popularly called bale. It has these 3 leaflets. So it's quite distinctive. It's a medicinal plant, very well known in Indian medicine, traditional Indian medicine. So you can just browse through these plants and see what are the plants that Common Mormon caterpillars feed on. And then you can try to find these plants and pot them in your backyard. Citrus, Aurantium, Citrus limon, these are all lemon varieties, oranges, they all belong to this particular genus. So you can see information about plants, you can see what they look like. Therefore, you will know what are the plants on which to find caterpillars for these species. So this is, I think, one of the best resources where you can get information on plants. And of course, you can't plant 50 species of plants in your garden. So if you want to focus on just a few species of plants, you can look through our Butterflies of Bengaluru book. It was published last year and copies are available. You can search for them online and find them. So in that book, we have separately marked few species which attract many butterfly species. And I think that list is just 20 or 25 species of plants which attract at least 40 or 50 species of butterflies, which are found in Bengaluru, Mysuru, Mangalore, and other areas, other cities and towns in Karnataka. So you can also get names of those plants and then try to attract butterflies. Where to find those plants? I will hand this over to HANEESH as well as Mr. HARISH, who may be able to answer where to find these plants in Bengaluru area or in Karnataka in general.
Yeah. So the answering to that question, so usually we suggest in a slightly different way. So the look for the which are the butterflies which you can see around. Okay, suppose you have a small garden, so you try to find out which are the butterflies which you which are visiting in your garden. Then according to that butterfly, you can select the plants. So and usually the common plants, some of them you may be getting from your nearby places itself, not even from the nurseries. So usually the indigenous plants are more suitable than the exotic plants. So because they are ecologically, they will give better benefit than the exotic plants. Because not only your butterflies, they may be catering to many other insects also. And it is very easy to maintain such indigenous plants than some exotic plants. Because suppose you pick some plant from nearby, suppose when you are moving out, so in some open lands, there will be some plant, you can plant them during this monsoon season. So once you planted such indigenous plants, they needs very less care, and usually you need not worry much about it. Okay, and then they will they grow its own most of the time, and it will be more sustainable than you are making the lot of effort to make your own garden by including lot of exotic plants or foreign plants. So that is what usually we suggest. So you go with the plants which are available locally. So you watch the butterflies, you see which are the plants they are preferring, or which are the plants they are preferring in their locality. You try to collect from your locality and put it in your the garden. So And another thing, if you are in a city like Bangalore, suppose you have the restriction for collecting the such plants. Okay, most of the these plants they are available in the local nurseries. Okay, so most of them will be available, and you can see that in iPhone. The butterflies site, you can see that not only one plant, there are a set of plants. So at least one or two you will be able to pick from your nearby gardens. I think.
And I will just very quickly point out that if you plant lemon plants, for example, or orange plants, those attract at least 4 species of butterflies: common Mormon, lime swallowtail, blue Mormon, and then lime blue. So those 4 species with a single plant species, you'll be able to attract 4 species of butterflies. Similarly, if you plant Caparis zelanica, it's a wild plant. You will find it in your neighborhood, in any dry area where you can go. That single plant has at least 5 species feeding on it: common gull, pioneer, and then common or Indian wanderer.
Psyche
is also there. So you have 4 species feeding on it. And what other plants will have? You can have custard apple, on which you will get tail jay. On false ashoka, you will have tail jay and common jay, both in our area. So these are some of the common plants which will attract. The kalanko, which can easily be grown from leaves, that's also a popular nursery plant. You can easily grow it in pots in your even house, in a balcony, you can grow it. And in fact, the butterfly which feeds on it, the red pirot, is a very weak flyer. When you see it in the field, you won't be able to believe that it can fly high. But I've heard of reports where this butterfly popped up on the 4th floor, 5th floor of a building.
No, I stay in 3rd floor. I mean, first time I spotted a red spot in my area in my garden. So I don't know how it came.
So they'll somehow find their way. So these are some of the common plants that you can easily pot to begin with. And of course, you can go to more wild plants, slightly more difficult plants to grow, and so on and so forth. But actually, SAMMILAN also has a lot of experience in this, because he practically grew his entire butterfly park out of regenerating plants, naturally regenerating plants in his garden, as well as some plants which is specially potted. So SAMMILAN, can you tell us where to get those plants, how to get those plants, what kind of care is needed to allow these plants to grow well?
I have few suggestions to who want to come up with a butterfly habitat in your home gardens, or any of the school campuses, or any of the organizational campuses you have. So to start with, you can only start with the nectar plants rather than focusing on the host plants initially. So you know the species, you will have to also work and document the butterflies which visit this flowering patch. What do you have? You know, if you put Ixora also in your home garden, so Ixora is fine, easily available everywhere in the nursery, and they also grow through cuttings, and they can attract right from the smaller Hesperidae to the bigger swallowtail butterflies in your home garden. So when you are aware that so much of, you know, what are the species that visit your butterfly habitat, what you have created, you can slowly plan your host plant list also, because as Dr. Krushnamegh mentioned, you have this host plant list in the website what is shared right now with us. So you can go, and if you go and click on the species page, you'll get also the list of host plants what this particular species fits on. So it's not only about seeing the names of the butterfly, but also the photos. So if you are familiar, it might be easy for you to find this host in your locality also. And as far as some of the common host plants are concerned, they are almost available in the nursery also, most of them. If you take Maikile Champaka, in Canada we call it a Sampige, so it's also available in the nurseries. If you take the false shuka, Polyalgia longifolia, that's also you can find it in the nursery. And if you want to put some lime plants also, if you by yourself can collect the seeds and put them in pots and grow from the seeds the lime plants, the different species of citrus species. So if you are residing in the foothills of the Western Ghats, if you put Citrus medica, Citrus medica is one of the commonest plants. They grow through cuttings also. In Tulu we call it as Mapalapudi locally. So if you put this plant, you can attract up to about 5 species of butterflies. Curry leaf, as we all know, it's easily available in nursery. So if you put curry leaf, that also can attract up to 2 species. Mango, if you have in your surrounding area, that attracts. Of course, if you have in the coastal strip of the Western Ghats, you'll see the imperials breeding on that, slate flash breeding on that. Even the barons breed on and feed on the leaf of this particular plant. And more importantly, you have to decide that you will not use any kind of artificial fertilizers in your home gardens, or you spray pesticides, or use any kind of neem oil to keep the caterpillars away, or keep the butterflies away, or keep any of the insects away. So attracting butterflies in your home gardens can attract a lot of other other wildlife also, which you'll have to learn to live with. And even if you get spoiled, plants get spoiled. So this is all a part of nature. So you'll have to, you'll have to watch this and keep quiet and not intervene so much with the nature. And as far as I think I saw some questions outside also, where people just put that, like, how can you protect them from predators? So you are not supposed to intervene, or you're not supposed to protect them from any kind of predators. That's just natural. If, for example, if you have curry leaf plant hosts up to about 10-15 caterpillars, even there are predators which feed upon them, you're not supposed to intervene or protect them from parasitic wasps or parasitoids. Or so that's all part of nature. Whatever remains will remain, and you just practicing it, observing in wild, rather than learning to rearing inside your house, practicing it, seeing it outside in the field only. And before that, we spoke about the butterflies in the in the highly polluted cities. Dr. Krushnamegh also mentioned that butterflies can thrive in highly polluted cities like Bangalore also very well. But that's my one personal experience, is that I saw the creeper butterfly in one of the busy traffics of Nantur Junction. We have something called we have a junction called Nantur in Mangalore city, and we could spot a creeper there, and it's a busy in the busy traffic area. So butterflies can live and adapt to certain conditions, because probably there is extensive cultivation of its host Tinospora cordifolia. In Canada, we call it as Amrita Badi. Probably for that reason, the creeper might have become common, which or else was found known to be a strict forest dweller. So, and it's all about learning experience. It's all of trial and error methods. So when you start documenting butterflies in your home gardens, when you get to know about butterflies, you yourself will start propagating host plants, and you will learn, and people will definitely can learn from you when you practice conserving native flora, propagating native flora. It's all about learning experience for you.
So what SAMMILAN said is a very good point, and this is also something which apparently Nagesh Ramurthy has asked. The question is how to safeguard caterpillars from predators such as birds in apartment and home garden environment. And the second question is unrelated to that, so I'll take that later. But then how to protect caterpillars from predators and parasitoids. And what SAMMILAN said is true. We should ideally not interfere because it's a natural cycle. Of course, right now we are talking about butterflies, and therefore we would like to protect butterflies against predators, but the predators do depend on the caterpillars. And if we prevent that, then those predators, their babies are going to suffer as well. So we shouldn't interfere in that. But if you do want to protect your plants, sometimes, if you are really desperate to get at least some leaves from your curry plant, whereas the caterpillars are just eating them all the time, there are two ways to look at it. One is that, yes, the caterpillars are eating your valuable curry plant, but then you're getting butterflies in your garden. So you have to then decide between whether you would rather get some curry leaves, or you might enjoy butterflies and then sometimes get curry leaves. The second thing is, if you find caterpillars, you can always transport them to another plant and let them feed on that. Lemon leaves almost never you harvest, so you can maybe move them to the lemon plant. If you learn about caterpillars, if you know what species they belong to, and then which other plants they will feed on, then you can move them. That's also doable. But of course, it's always fun to watch caterpillars, and then to search really hard to find pupae. Caterpillars you can easily find on the plant, but you will almost never find pupae on the plant. The caterpillars always wander off somewhere else. And then you will find a butterfly one day, but you will almost never see a pupa. So that's a challenge which you can take up. Anyway, so that's about that question. The second question we have is lantern and milkweed are plants that attract butterflies. Can we grow them in an apartment garden to attract butterflies without affecting our decorative plants? So would somebody like to take that question? How to grow plants without disrupting other plants?
Yeah, so
I would like to take it.
yeah, Sammilan.
Rani sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, so usually the number of plants or which plants you are planting, so it depends on your area available. Suppose you are in the urban environment and you have a limited area. Sometimes you may be using your balcony. You are trying to convert into a small garden. Okay, so you select the plants which are suitable for that environment. So suppose in a balcony you may not be able to grow very big plants, so you try to select the plants which will be sustainable in that area. So I mean, you can suppose you cannot grow the big giant milkweed like the Calotropis gigantea. So instead of that, you can go for the Asclepias crossovica, the scarlet milkweed. So which will be smaller, which will be having flowers, beautiful flowers. Okay. So I mean, you can always try for some alternate options. So which usually we do. So if you cannot grow very big plants, so you try to find some alternate plants which will be easily adapted into that area. So that is
what I hear both in Paresh's answer earlier and now Hanish's is that the key to growing plants and attracting butterflies is to know the local flora and fauna really well, right? So first you should learn something about butterflies and their plants before you start attracting them. The chances of you succeeding are the best when you know something about them beforehand and then choose accordingly. Paresh mentioned that the area where they had this traffic circle was really sunny, so they chose plants which will do well under sunny conditions. What Haneesh just mentioned is that if you have a smaller area and a balcony like situation, you have to see which plants will thrive there. So choose wisely is in summary what you were saying. SAMMILAN, do you want to add anything, or Mr. Harish, if
Yeah,
you wants to add anything?
Yeah, I want to add one point. So somebody asked, like, can you grow lanternas in your butterfly parks or in the terrace garden? So of course you can grow lanternas, but go for the ornamental climber lanternas, which doesn't produce seeds or cannot be propagated by birds. So if there are no lanternas found in your area, so it might be another menace, because wild lanternas can be very invasive, killing the local floral population. So we can always go for ornamental lanternas if you are requested to go put these plants, but do not go for any kind of invasive lanternas which can kill the diversity of the area. That's one point what I wanted to make. And also, as I mentioned earlier, Ixora is one of the best nectar plants which attracts all the butterfly species, almost right from the small butterflies to the bigger ones.
So before I take other questions, Vidya has her hand raised. You want to ask something directly?
No, sir. I wanted to answer a question where you will get plants.
Okay, please go ahead.
It is in the chat box, sir. Just now I chatted.
Oh, you have put it in there. Okay. So sure. Our message says in Bangalore you have Dhanvantari Vana near Bangalore University. They charge 3 rupees per plant. So yes, that's something that you can consider. SAMMILAN, do you grow any plants in your nursery which people can take from there?
Yeah, we grow some in the nursery, but we grow it against orders also. Sometimes if somebody wants to create a habitat, we create habitats for them. So good. Under that conditions we grow.
Sure. And can we also get plants from BANNERGHATTA Butterfly Park?
No, so we have nurseries, but we are not selling the tree. So the plants we ourselves propagate them. People can get from the Forest Department nurseries. We have some Pongamia pinnata or other Ashoka Palialthia.
Okay.
Like that seedlings they can get from the Forest Department nurseries.
In Bangalore area, are there any forest nurseries that you can quickly name from where people can get plants?
Yes, near BANNERGHATTA Road, we have one horticulture department. So they do all these things and they charge around 3 to 5 rupees. Not more than 5.
Okay.
They provide good facility.
Good. All right.
So to that mall, that BANNERGHATTA near Meenakshi Mall. Just
Near Meenakshi Mall. Okay. Okay. And actually, you can, at least common plants you can find in any nursery. Mr. Harish mentioned Pongamia. Sammilan, can you tell us the Kannada name of Pongamia? Pongamia pinnata?
It's honge.
Honge.
Honge. Okay. So that's a very good plant. It's a very common roadside plant. It's an avenue plant. So you don't even need to plant it in your home garden. You can just go to your roadside, find the plant, and you will find caterpillars of at least common banded awl and common cerulean almost any time of the year. But especially around monsoon area, you will see these. You may also find caterpillars of dark cerulean on the flowers, especially. Common cerulean you will mostly find on the leaves. Dark cerulean you will find mostly among flowers, among the inflorescence. And if you're really lucky, you may also find caterpillars of Indian sunbeam on it. Forget me not as well. But Indian sunbeam is slightly harder. It's more challenging. So if you find it, you have really hit a jackpot. So it's a very common plant all over Karnataka. You will find this as a road plant, and you should have absolutely look out for it. Okay, so Mr. Karthik has his hand up. So do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, not exactly a question, Krushnamegh. I was just going to add.
Oh, this was Karthikeyan. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to add to some of the points that were made earlier.
Please go ahead.
SAMMILAN mentioned how you should probably just let things be and then watch. The flip side of, or rather the advantage of doing that is in the process, you also learn a lot of natural history beyond butterflies as well. Maybe parasites and whatever else. You can probably design little projects for yourself, and based on your observations, if you saw X number of eggs being laid, how many go on to becoming food for the parasites, how many become larvae, how many eventually go on to becoming adults. These are all a lot of interesting natural history learnings that can also happen while you are observing butterflies, while your primary interest happens to be butterflies. So which is also something which we should not ignore. I think there's a lot to learn, lot to document, and all these things can only add to the bank of information or knowledge that we have about the butterflies.
Great, thank you for that. I just realized it's 8:12. Shall we take questions until maybe 8:20 and then stop the questions, and we can continue with answering them for some time? Is it okay, Priya?
Yeah, that should be fine, KK.
Yeah, great. Priya, Kesav, actually, whoever is ultimately organizing this.
Any one of us is fine.
Great, great. All right. Then the next question is, there are actually a few questions like, how do butterflies know when to eclose? And that's a great question. But maybe we should hold on to those questions for another day. There are lots of questions related to butterfly gardening, butterfly larvalose plants, caterpillars. So maybe we'll take those first. And then if you have time, we'll come back to this question. But it's definitely a great question. Any scientist will just be thrilled to answer that, or to be able to answer that. We don't know exactly how some of these things happen, but it's certainly a great question. All right. What are the common nectar plants that cater to a wide variety of butterflies? This is a question from Ajit. So Sammilan, you have done a lot of butterfly gardening to attract butterflies. Nectar plants has been one of the central plant base that you use. Can you please tell us about some of the common nectar plants which attract a lot of butterflies and which are also easy to maintain?
Yeah, I'll just mention a few of them. Duranta would attract a lot of butterflies. The one which started as hedge plants, and even the Ixora, as I mentioned earlier, and the ornamental lantanas, and also the Clerodendron species. There are different species of Clerodendron. The common ones are the Clerodendron paniculatum, Rakapushpa in Kannada, Clerodendron viscosum, it is called as Itteu, Bilirata in Kannada. So these are some of the nectar plants which can attract butterflies. Apart from that, if you talk about the coastal strip of the Western Ghats, there are soapnut trees which attracts lots of butterflies. The big trees attracts many butterflies. You can put soapnut trees. You can put the Premna ceratifolia. In Kannada, we call it Agnimantha. That's also another great nectar plant for butterflies, and you see lots of milkweed butterflies coming on that. You can also focus on alkaloid-rich plants like Protelaria species and this Heliotropium indica. So these are some of the alkaloid-rich plants which can attack the milkweed butterflies. The male milkweed butterflies come on that. So normally, if you plant them, even in Bangalore, you see lots of milkweeds on alkaloid-rich plants. So these are some of the plants what you can attract butterflies. Apart from that, the hibiscus, red hibiscus, can attract swallowtails. The blue mormon comes on that. The southern birdings come on that. The Malabar banded peacocks come on that. There are other wild nectar plant also, which you might not be able to find usually, but there are other plants also which can attract lots of butterflies. So these are some of the common plants what you can put in a home gardens to attract butterflies.
Right, great. Thanks, SAMMILAN, for that. There are some interesting observations. Priya has mentioned that she had 20 red rose eclose in her third floor balcony. So somehow they made it there, not just made it there, but they successfully bred there. And these 30 red rose came out of the pupae in her balcony, which is really great. And she says that she did nothing other than keep kalanchoe in the balcony. So she just maintained that plant in the balcony, and she had so many butterflies. Ashwini says that she has a lot of butterflies visiting her 11th floor balcony. So third, fourth floor I knew, but butterflies can go even up to 11th floor, which is taller than most trees that you will see in Bangalore area. So it's pretty remarkable that butterflies do find the right habitat, the right nectar plant, the right lavalose plant, when it really planted even inside the city. By the way, I have put 2 links in the chat box. One is a lavalose plant list, which I showed. The second link is a reverse plant butterfly host, plant and butterfly checklist. So for each plant, it lists all the butterfly species which feed on it. So what you need to see there is find plants which on a single plant species, there are lots and lots of butterfly species which feed on it. Several plants that we mentioned earlier, lemon plant, Caparis zelanica. SAMMILAN, if you know the Kannada name of Caparis zelanica, you can mention. Do you know it? No.
I don't know.
It is
okay, fine. Yeah. And then mango plant attracts a few species. You have other plants. So all these things are mentioned in that second link that I have put up in the chat box. So you can take it from there. Then HP says, should one be cautious in attracting butterfly species? Will your plants also attract other unwanted species? And I wouldn't worry too much about it because there are almost no species which are unwanted, right? I think the only unwanted species that you may be thinking of are perhaps some predators or some parasitoids, which will eat butterfly caterpillars. But we should really think of this as of course, an opportunity to attract butterflies to your garden. But if it attracts other insects, that's also nice. And eventually you might learn something about them as well, as Karthik mentioned. So there are really no truly unwanted species. I would look at it just another opportunity to see more species rather than unwanted species. And then Sharvi says, can you name a few common butterfly species found in Bengaluru? So Hanish, you live here. You've been around the city quite a lot. So can you mention maybe the 10 most common species or some interesting species?
Yeah, I'll just connect them with some plants also so that they can pick easy. So the common mormon is one of the very pretty common. So you can easily attract them by planting some curry leaves or lemon plants. Okay. Then even the lime butterfly, that also will be coming on the same plants. So then you will be having some grass yellows, okay, so the yellow butterflies, so you can try the cassia fistula, the golden shower tree. So if you are having a small garden, you can always go for that one, because there are a lot of butterflies breeding on that cassia fistula. Then you can see a lot of plumbago in Bangalore, so with the blue flowers, so you can they put it as a hedge plant, so you can easily attract the zebra blue, and as well as it's a good nectar plant. Then if you are going, so usually the other than the big butterflies which you are seeing, so usually a lot of the undergrowth in the garden, so you'll be getting a lot of grass yellows growing on the various grasses. You'll be having some bush browns, evening browns, which usually it may not be much attractive, but they'll once the habitat is ready, they'll all will come. So that is the advantage of setting up a butterfly garden. So the basic question, people will ask why I need to set up a butterfly garden. So usually, the first answer is you can see all of them because they are beautiful. You can see them, but in a bigger picture, these butterflies are a good pollinators, so they can help the habitat a lot. Okay, and once the habitat is sustained, okay, then it can attract a lot of other insects, lot of other predators. So naturally, the ecosystem in the entire area will be improving. So that is the entire idea of why we need to set up a butterfly habitat. So usually we'll tell we need not interfere into nature much, but especially in the degraded places or especially in the urban landscape. So always it is better to set up some garden, so which will be helping the ecosystem in a bigger way.
Sure. And one thing I'll mention, so actually Hanish has mentioned this a couple of times. Karthik also mentioned this. There are two ways to do this. One is to pot plants, which will attract butterflies. The second way to do this is not to weed out everything. In fact, in another chat, even Deepa Mohan has made this point that if you let what we will normally call weeds be there in one small patch at least, these so-called weedy species will also attract a lot of butterflies. You may not see them as a garden plant, but actually these will be native species or otherwise attractive species for butterflies, and butterflies will come. And both ways you can attract butterflies. Some of the common species that you will see, let's say top 10 species, which you might easily be able to notice in Bengaluru or Mysuru or Mangalore and Belgaum and other cities and towns in Karnataka, are common mormon, really one of the easiest species that you will see near garden or inside the city. Lime swallowtails will be there. Tail jay, common jay are again everywhere. You have grass yellows, smallish yellow butterflies, which will be by the roadside, not only in your gardens. The common emigrant, mottled emigrant, common emigrant or lemon emigrant, it's known by both the names. Emigrants are really common, and sometimes you might see huge migratory swarms of these flying inside even cities. So if you live in Bangalore going towards Bengaluru airport, you will see these massive swarms, sometimes hundreds of thousands of butterflies flying together. And these will typically be lemon emigrants just before the monsoon or at the beginning of the monsoon. So we'll see these. I mean, you cannot ignore these butterflies at that time because they are really hundreds of thousands. It's a fairly large butterfly, about this size. So that's one species which is easily seen in these. You have plain tiger, you have blue tigers and dark blue tigers and common crows, which again are part of the migratory swarm. So you will see them a lot. If you have kalanko in your garden, you will see red piros. These are some of the common species. Are there any other butterfly species, Hanish, you would like to point out, which people will easily see?
Yeah, actually the common gulls and pioneers are the other. So.
Sure.
And the one plant which they can try is the Aristolochia indica. So which if it is around you, you can collect the seeds and grow it in the garden. So if you are lucky, you can see a lot of beautiful ones there.
Great. And he actually mentioned a very good plant, this Aristolochia. One great thing about it is that it will attract 3 species of butterflies in most of the cities in Karnataka, especially towards the west. And these are common rose, crimson rose, and the state butterfly of Karnataka, the Sahyadri birdwing. So even that feeds on Aristolochia, and you will find caterpillars of all these 3 species on the plant pretty easily. They're pretty large, very brightly colored, hard to miss if you look for them. And these are 3 great species. All of them are large, and the birdwing is the largest butterfly in southern India. It has a wingspan of nearly 150 centimeters. The females are larger than males, and they can grow nearly 150 centimeters, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. So that's one really nice species to attract.
Yeah, I'll add just 2 plants. One is the palms. Okay, so usually every garden will have some, at least the ornamental palms. They will attract the giant red eye as well as the palm flies, the the palm fly in the Bangalore. And then bamboo. Bamboo is the host plant of many of the skipper butterflies. Okay, so you'll be definitely getting some of them once some bamboo trees are growing in your garden. So
great,
wonderful. People can easily grow castor also. Very
yes.
Easy to grow.
And castor, it also grows naturally along roadsides and in open spaces around playgrounds and so on. So one thing to do would be not to cut it down, because it's anyway growing there naturally, and you will find populations of common castor butterfly feeding on these plants. It's wonderful to have these plants around. Malakumari has a comment and then a question. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge. So we thank again all these panelists who are answering questions. And then her tiny balcony on the 4th floor with curry leaves, lemon and gongura attracts butterflies. So this is a comment, and her question then is, could you suggest any other easy to grow herbs and vegetable plants that can feed us and caterpillars? So HANEESH, SAMMILAN and Mr. HARISH have mentioned several plants, but what is unique in this question is something that will feed not only caterpillars, but also us. So what are the plants which we use in our cooking, but which also attracts butterflies? You have also already mentioned lemon, curry leaves. These are things that we use. Well, also
Amaranthus, the seed, but it has to flower so that the grass blooms will come there.
Okay.
Then
any other plants?
Then usually the something rice or the sorghum and all, usually the skippers will be coming. So that are the plants which usually we see.
Okay, there's one plant I can think of, oxalis.
Yeah,
it's a common small plant. You will hardly notice it. It just grows about that much from the ground, from the soil. And we live on the 7th floor, really 8th floor, and that plant just appeared in our pots from somewhere, maybe through seeds from the soil. And that has been growing in our balcony garden for many years now. And that oxalis, several butterfly species feed on it. They feed on the flowers as well as on the leaves as caterpillars. And oxalis is traditionally not looked at as a plant that we can use, but if you chow on them, they're pretty nice. They are slightly sour. So
yeah, so they use it as a vegetable.
I just finished oxalis from one patch from a pot in my garden. So that's another plant which we can eat. Are there any other plants, Sammilan, you can think of, or Paresh, you probably can think of some plants which feed us as well as butterflies?
If somebody is from this part, the foothills of the Western Ghats, I think somebody put a question from Agumbe also. So you can plant a lot of other host plants also, including the ficus species. I don't know, I lost connection in between. I don't know whether you spoke about it. The ficus racemosa is one plant which is very commonly found and which grows from cuttings also. Ficus racemosa. In Tulu we call it, in Kannada we call it artikai. You make a curry out of this artikai. It's edible. So this artikai, that's host for the common map, the silver streak dew, the common crow, the brown king crow. So altogether the four species which will breed on this, and it's very commonly found, and it's very easy to grow. That you can grow from cuttings also. Then apart from that, as I mentioned earlier, there's one more plant which is commonly found, that is Citrus medica. Citrus medica is host plant even for the Malabar banded swallowtail, not a preferred host, but the Malabar banded swallowtail occasionally uses that is, which is endemic to Western Ghats. So you can put Citrus medica also because it attracts up to 5 species of butterflies. And Xanthosillum ovaliifolium in Tirfan, we call it as Gamatemara in Kannada, Kavante in Tulu, or Petnoli in Tulu. That's one of the commonest plant what you'll see, and they also can grow from cuttings. If you go to under a big tree, you'll see a lot of saplings of Xanthosillum redsa, which might not come out well. If you put them in open areas, they come out really well, and they can serve host plant for the Malabar banded peacock, the iconic butterfly of Western Ghats, I can say. It can also serve as host plant for the red helen, the beautiful big swallowtail. It also is host plant for the common mormon. So it serves as host plant for 3 species of butterflies. And most of us know Gamatemara, those who reside here, but we don't know probably that's the host plant for the beautiful Malabar banded peacock. Apart from that, you can put Xanthosillum ovaliifolium. In Tulu, we call it as Madrampala. Aremapala in Aremapala also is called in locally here. So if you put Xanthosillum ovaliifolium, again you'll see the Paris peacock, the beautiful butterfly, called to be a second beautiful by Richard Bit. You can also see other butterflies including lime swallowtail, common mormon, coming on Xanthosillum ovaliifolium. So these are some of the plants. Apart Oaklandra travancoricum is one more wonderful host plant, serving as host plant for at least up to about more than 10 species of butterflies. So these are some of the host plants what you can target, apart from the common host plants. If you are residing in this part of Karnataka, that's what we can think of. If you are want to really attract some of the endemic species or some of the gorgeous butterflies.
Harish, do you have anything to add?
Yes, Krushnamegh, I would like to add few plants such as Sena alata, which attracts both emigrant species, which are very commonly found in the cities like Mumbai as well as Bengaluru. Also, we can plant soapnut, which attracts several butterflies, which is a good nectar plant as well, and it is a host plant of cornelian as well as certain flash species as well. Then again, Butia monospermum, which is also a good nectar plant as well as host plant for more than 20 odd species. So this is again a good tree which we can think upon. Again, I would like to add one more tree rather, which is Indian sandalwood, which attracts more than 50 odd species, as well as some species in the northeast were used to feed upon it. So I think Indian
sandalwood. This is a nectar plant.
Yes, it's a nectar plant. And one more plant, spider lilies, we can plant in our garden, which attracts many crepuscular butterflies like some giant red eye, then Indian palm bob, which are commonly active during dawn and dusk. You can, plant those lilies for these butterflies. So this is the point I would like to add. And someone said earlier about how we can get good nectar plants from nurseries and host plants. So if you are not getting certain plants which you listed, then you can collect some seeds from the forest, or some of your friends who are doing gardening on a regular basis, and you can grow them from the seeds as well. So this is another option you can think upon.
Great.
This is
all
the
right.
point.
So we are past 8:30. We should really close off now. And of course, there are more questions here, but we will have other sessions as well later on. What I will do is, since I introduced Karthik in the beginning, saying that he has been our guru, everybody's guru, in fact, who is here on the panel for a long time, I will request him to perhaps close this session by perhaps mentioning his experience and any other notes he may want to pass on to people here, which will help them appreciate butterflies a lot. Not only attract them, which is what we have been talking about with gardening, but also similar to what he mentioned earlier, appreciate butterflies as well as other biodiversity, which they might see around them. So Karthik, could you please do us a favor by giving some words of wisdom, something that you've learned from your long naturalistic experience, which will help these people become more and more motivated to do something, not only to enjoy these creatures, but also help them conserve in their neighborhoods as well as further afield. If you could do that, I think that will be very, very nice.
Sure. Thanks for springing that on me. Thought that was just going on in my mind when I was listening to all these discussions over the last hour and a half was an experience from closer home for me. I had a piece of land, about 1,200 square feet, which was completely open and empty and quite sunny. There's no vegetation in it at all. It all started with bringing of just one banana plant, which grew and then which brought bats in, which brought the bats until such time, until the banana plants grew. This open piece of land had Barleria prionitis and a couple of other Barlerias and Acanthaceae members. So I had pansies breeding in my garden for a long time. And of course, a lot of other smaller butterflies, which are typical of open conditions. Eventually, once the banana plants grew, there's a lot more shade that came in. The bats came. The bats brought in the jamun tree. Bats brought in a whole lot of other things, including, of course, a few polyalthea saplings which were planted by the bats, and a whole bunch of murraya curry leaf plant that the bats brought in, besides a whole lot of other plants. These in turn brought, all the butterflies that all of you have been talking about. The tail jay came in with the tail jay, and the common jays came with the polyaltheas. Then I had the mormons and the limes coming in along with the murraya and all of that. So once the garden became completely shaded, the pansies made their way out. And so it was so interesting to watch this whole transition. But of course, these things take a fairly long time to observe and appreciate. That's where I was saying you need patience, and while enjoying butterflies, it's always a great opportunity to learn about a lot of other organisms which share the space along with the butterflies in our midst. Even in a city like Bangalore or Bombay, like Paresh so rightly mentioned, it's very, very important for us to keep our eyes open, be sensitive to what's happening, perceive changes. These are all things that can go a long way in you understanding and appreciating nature in your midst. I hope I've done that bit for you.
Great. Thanks, Karthik, for that. And we again thank all the panelists, especially Mr. Harish. He's a very busy person in his responsibility as Deputy Director of BANNERGHATTA Biological Park. So we particularly appreciate your time, sir. And I hope to see you tomorrow. And another thing which we should mention is that for the last 4 years, BANNERGHATTA Biological Park has also been supplying butterflies bred in the park to be released at the Butterfly Festival. And we also hope to see those tomorrow. Typically, the chief guests and other forest officers have been releasing butterflies in the Doresini-Palya Reserve Forest, which is where we conduct the in-person program, which will be tomorrow. Yes. So we also thank you for doing that for the festival. And of course, Karthik has been an inspiration, and we were glad to see him today on the panel. And SAMMILAN, again, thank you so much for your experience and all the wisdom that you have accumulated by creating your butterfly garden, which I hope to visit again next year. I have not been there for many years. I don't really know why, but I will make it to your garden next year. And of course, Paresh and Haneesh with a lot of experience of raising butterflies, studying their larvalose plants and larval stages. So we thank you for all your knowledge which you have shared with us as well. And of course, Priya, Keshav, and others who have been organizing this whole online session. I think Vasu also has been helping a lot with this. And a number of, actually, there are dozens of volunteers who have been helping with all these programs rolling smoothly. So we thank all of them really, since this is the last program. Priya, Keshav, and others, do you want to add anything in closing for this whole online session for the last 4 days?
It's been a great pleasure hearing to all these experts, and I hope all our youngsters and butterfly enthusiasts gained a lot from all these talks. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, everybody, for being here today. Oh, Priya, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. And I just wanted to remind everyone that in case they missed any of these talks of this festival, they can still catch up on it by going to the Facebook Facebook page, or also visit our Bengaluru Butterfly Club YouTube channel. So you'll get even last year's videos also available over there. So you can get a whole lot more information too. So thank you all, and thank you, Dr. Kunte, and all the members of the panel for this informative talk and telling us about the different aspects of setting up a butterfly garden. And I'm sure that all the viewers are going to use this information and add to their gardens and enjoy the butterflies coming in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Some of you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.